Greece is collapsing in on itself and may take the euro with it. Puerto Rico's dead broke and may take billions in retirement money with them. And the stock market was certain to greet both news items with a smile, a can-do attitude, and not allow such trivial matters to drive them into the red number basement beginning the week. Sounds so much better when you add a little dose of fantasy, doesn't it? Welcome back, the Money Master, editor of the Financial Intelligence Report, Jeff Yastine. And I say that, Jeff, all tongue-in-cheek because the Dow dove today. And as a matter of fact, if I'm right, the S&P erased all their gains for the year in one day.
Pretty much the case. You know, it's just one of those things where the market is trying to now discount the worst for Greece and making up for lost time. It's not as if this is really a new thing. Nonetheless, the Dow finishing down 351 points, the NASDAQ down 123, the S&P finished down 43 points. You mentioned the euro. It opened today's session in the morning at 110 to the dollar, and it finished at around 1.2, 1.21 to the dollar, which is actually a good thing. It didn't decline the way I think a lot of people might have expected. So a lot of this is just sort of catching up on the part of global markets for the possibility of an actual Greece default, which is still way open to question.
Now, the White House said today that they will not bail out Puerto Rico. The governor there says our debts are not payable. That's it. End of story. So if you take Puerto Rico, which technically a lot of people still call it the 51st state of America, and then you take Greece, which one should we really be more concerned about right now? Puerto Rico?
For Americans, yeah, you should be more concerned about Puerto Rico. The reason why is because they've been basically working with their budgets by financing and doing a lot of municipal bond issuances. And muni bonds are owned, majority of them are owned by retirees in this country. It's not really something that the banks and the investment banks really get into that much. So there's more of a direct hit on that part. And it just remains to be seen whether or not Puerto Rico actually stops payments on some of the perceived riskier versions of their muni bonds, or whether they continue to work their way through this.
Let's go ahead and talk about two issues real quick, 60 seconds. GE is going to sell the bulk of their fleet financing business for almost $7 billion. How does that work overall? They're just trying to get out of the banking business?
Essentially, yes. I mean, they made this decision, announced it back earlier this year, and said they were going to be moving out of finance and basically selling off big chunks of GE finance. And this is really the first concrete step in their doing so.
So I'm wondering what Wall Street is saying today about the buzz that's going on regarding Donald Trump, and if you're hearing much at all, and how this affects anybody. Look, he's off NBC, the Miss USA, the Miss Universe pageants, they're gone now, they're off NBC. Donald Trump kind of shrugs his shoulders and says, it's okay, it's a couple of $1 million among friends.
I think the market is also likewise shrugging its shoulders with this Greece situation and Puerto Rico. They had much bigger fish to fry than Donald Trump, for sure, today.
Does anything Trump does, Jeff, really impact the market these days? I mean, we've talked so much.
No, not really. I mean, NBC is part of Comcast or Comcast Universal, and the impact of one show, considering NBC's lineup of any of the things that Trump is a part of, just isn't big enough to really make a big impact these days.
Yeah, and when you figure, of course, that basically everybody in America now gets to look at Donald Trump and say, you're fired, it pretty much makes everybody happy. Just because they can do it at least once to him makes them happy. Don't forget, go to Newsmax.com, click on the Finance tab, 24/7, 365. That's where Jeff Yastine, the entire team, will walk you through what's happening in business, and we'll talk about it here every day on MidPoint. Always a pleasure, my friends. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, here we go for you now. Has Donald Trump gone too far, and is his being kicked off NBC justified? They basically said, no more Celebrity Apprentice, no more beauty pageants, nothing, you're out. Of course, they still have to pay him $160 million. Go to Newsmax.com/comments. Tell us exactly what you think. Next up, nuts and bolts of a SCOTUS Monday and how it's going to affect everybody on MidPoint.